Hey folks, welcome back to COVID Chats. My guest today is Ethan Eisenhard. Ethan is a good buddy of mine from Camp Yavna, which we talk about a bit at the start of this COVID chat. And on top of that, he's just a multifaceted person with a lot of interests and is highly knowledgeable, especially about web development, which is what he works in. And we have a pretty long conversation about that during this. And then we also touch upon a lot of just other aspects that have been on his mind and on my mind, especially those having to do with stress and mental health. So there's definitely elements to this COVID chat that aren't so directly tied to COVID, but that's perfectly okay with me. That's part of sort of the ethos of the program, is to allow it to change on its own and mutate a little bit, not in a bad way. That word is always seen as bad, mutations, right? But mutate positively, should I say. And yeah, I think as a whole, it's a strong episode. And just on that point about people feeling stressed or, still feeling isolated, something that was brought up in a previous COVID chat is just how important it is to reach out to people and just ask, as I start the program in that same way, how are you? How are you doing? Just an honest, genuine question. And I think people are always happy to talk about themselves, and it's always good just to call a friend and reach out. And maybe they know you're there in theory, but a call is actually something tangible, right? So I've been trying to do that more lately, and it's been pretty positive. So it's something I suggested to Ethan off camera, as well as taking some time away from social media and whatnot. But I won't give away too much more without any further ado. Here it is, episode 38 of COVID Chats. Hello, Ethan, and welcome to episode 38 of COVID Chats.
Thanks for having me, Ruben. Let's do this.
I'm very excited. A pleasure to have you on. Good buddy of mine from back in the day at Camp Yavna, where your shirt is repping right now. Love that.
Absolutely.
Love to hear that. And got a bunch of questions for you on the different aspects of your beautiful and eclectic personality and but before we hit that, I always just like to start it off with my guests a little how are you? How are you doing?
All right. Actually, a little stressful. Work's been a little tough. I'm big on the work from home, but it seems recently maybe that has increased the pressure a little bit, or I'm putting it on myself. I'm not sure, either or. But yeah, a little stressed. And with everything going on, I think everyone's a little bit stressed, which does not help.
I think you're right about that. In terms of the work from home point, there was definitely something I was reading about employers expecting a little bit more out of employees with the work from home. Like the average employee was working a couple extra hours. And then I also do think the second point of you yourself just internally putting pressure on yourself. Because, there are certain parts of the day that you do get back, right? No commute. But, you don't want to roll out of bed and go right onto the laptop either, right? So I think that's a mix. But besides the stress, it seems like you're doing okay for now so far. Don't have the COVID?
Yeah, don't have the COVID. Luckily, friends and family are healthy, and
right. Good.
That's what counts, right?
Yeah, definitely. So kicking it right off, that Yavna t-shirt, I just have to ask, how do you feel about camp being closed this summer?
It's a total bummer.
Yeah.
Especially for the kids. I mean, every summer that's something to look forward to. And now you think about these kids being cooped up in their houses all summer. It's real unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I think the alternative, if you were to open the camp, or some people are, it seems like you'd have to test everyone when they come in. And I don't know what that would look like, but that'd be interesting. And it will be interesting to see how that plays out. I know that Penn State just announced that they're actually having kids come back in the fall.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah. So that's another interesting thing. I think a lot of different colleges are taking different approaches to handling this. And I think we'll see the same for these summer camps, unfortunately. And fortunately, I guess, Yavna canceled for the summer.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, I talked about it with Josh Mickley sort of right before the decision came down, actually, and I was, preaching about sort of the desire, not the need, but the desire for it to stay open, and the importance of camp, how much it cemented our friendship bonds, but then also just gave a little reprieve from the homeland, where we were, and we went to this mecca, almost this place in the woods where you know, things were structured but also very free. And I mean, I don't need to talk about all the great parts of camp. People know that if they went to camp. So but yeah, I mean, I also do of course understand the flip side, and based on some of I don't know if you get the Yavna newsletter, but they'll be doing some online sort of virtual things over the summer. I saw like a Joel Sussman, I'm looking at it right now, Joel Sussman benefit concert. So that's happening.
That sounds great.
Look forward to that. And they're offering like tuition refunds. So it sounds like they're doing the best of a crummy situation. But yeah, that sucks. Sucks for the kids. What do you think? So, at Yavna, one of the big things is being a Kerem, the oldest year. You have a little responsibility like a CIT counselor. What do you think they should do for next summer? What happens to this year's Kerem?
I think this year's Kerem just is unlucky. I mean, you could consider, if kids don't want, if the situation is it isn't popular to travel to Israel, right? Because that's the following summer after Kerem, you go to Nala.
Right.
You could consider maybe those kids doing the Kerem program. Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I would say give kids the opportunity to come back if they want to, and for those who want to can, right? I mean, that's the best opportunity you really can present for those kids who are missing out on, one of the most impactful summers of someone's life. What are you, 15, 16? I think you're 15 that summer.
Yeah.
So it's a big moment.
Yeah, no, it's huge. I mean, I of course loved our Kerem. What do you think about maybe Kerem for like 1 month and the other Kerem for the other month?
I think what would be interesting actually would be just together. I mean, if you
Double
were
Kerem.
able to do that, double Kerem, why not? I mean, it's a lot of voices, but in a time of like now, being able to work with other people and like being able to listen to that and really grow community would be extremely beneficial for that next year.
You don't think the next year's Karen will be like, I don't want to share this this summer?
I don't think they will. I think
they'll understand.
I think everyone will be so excited to go to camp. But you also keep in mind that there's still that NALA program, right?
Right.
So kids might go to that too.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I just wanted to pick your brain about it. I mean, I'm gonna try to get the director on Bill, but if that's unsuccessful, it's still nice to reminisce about our summers, and
what I was thinking, maybe we could just start our own little reunion, rent a house out, Karen 2000. What are we, 12?
2012.
2012.
Yeah,
2012.
that'd be fun.
That would be so much fun. But I think everyone's just got so many things going on, and it's probably not the best health wise.
Yeah, and there's still that's the reason camp is closed, just because of COVID.
Yeah.
I don't know if the pop-up camp is
Well, it would just be us friends.
No, it's okay. You're just irresponsible. So moving forward, you're a new YouTuber. Welcome to the ranks, my friend.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
Of course. What's the intention behind teaching web development? Is it just for the joy of teaching, or do you have some loftier aspirations here?
Well, it's funny because in school I wasn't taught web development. I was taught a subset of it. It's there's many different languages to programming, and we weren't taught necessarily web development, and that's just how my career developed, by teaching myself. And I have found that a lot of my friends keep hitting me up and they're like, I want to learn web development. And so I've been in communication with a lot of them, and together with them, I've been trying to create courses just from the beginning and really bring everyone up to speed. And then once everyone is kind of like on a even level, like knows the core foundations of web development, which really could take, I don't know, 1 to 3 months. If you really were working hard and we're taught in a way that is easily digestible, uh, you could really flourish and you start building out websites for clients, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it'd be cool to also teach my family, because I really want more programmers in the family. So I'm hoping that they'll watch the videos too.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll influence them. Suddenly dad's coming to you with a question about HTML, you know?
That would be awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, that would
it
be
would be
cool.
really cool.
So what did you major in college, if not for web development
So
or comp sci?
I it was like it's technically information sciences and technology. Um,
Okay.
it's really just a broad stroke of how does technology impact our world today, and like the business aspect of it as well. And then we were taught specifically Java programming, which
Okay.
is object oriented programming, which is
Right.
just a different way to approach web development. And so I ended up getting an internship building out websites. I believe it was my sophomore summer,
Mm,
and that really played a big role in learning how to do web development, right? Because I basically started to teach myself,
right.
and then I used that code actually to get my next internship where I work today. So it was
Wow.
actually a pretty impactful
Yeah.
summer. Yeah, it was a pretty big deal.
So what language do you code in now, if not for Java? What's the web language of choice?
So the web language that all browsers all support now is JavaScript.
Hmm.
And so it still has that Java in the
Right.
name, which could get a little confusing.
Right.
But it's actually not object oriented programming. It's prototype programming and functional programming.
Mm,
Um, and so it's just a different approach, and it's neat because you don't have to download anything to be a web developer, right?
right.
Everything is compiled in the browser, and so everyone has, if you have a computer or laptop or access to the internet, you can be a developer. You don't have to download anything. And that's what's cool about
Mm. Maybe I'll start to learn.
it. Hey, yeah, absolutely, man, I'll teach you.
I mean, I am curious in sort of like making my own website or just
Yeah,
having some of that knowledge is nice. And coding never really, like classic coding, like building an app or something, never really spoke to me. And I tried to do like Java and Python in high school, and
yeah,
it wasn't really for
those
me. But I would try
yeah
it again in a sort of a different factor.
those those can be hard to start off with, especially for people who are visual. Like, I'm a
Yeah,
pretty visual person, right? So when I
yeah.
started learning web development, like, I could see the change right away.
Mm,
And that was a big deal for me versus like these Java programming and Python. You kind of have to wait for things to compile, and
yeah,
you're looking at these logs, and
yeah.
you're not seeing this user interface right away. And so it's not as enticing to a lot of people who are visual learners.
Mm,
So that's why I really encourage a lot of people to check out web development, because of that appeal.
yeah. That's a great point. It's more immediately satisfying and it's more
Yeah,
tangible
absolutely.
than classic coding. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I
Might
have
have just
enjoyed the video.
convinced you.
Yeah, yeah. I might hop on. How is it
Salesman.
in terms of bugs? Like, is it the same brutal process, or is it a little
I mean,
easier?
it's all, yeah. I mean, you have to learn how to write good code, right? And when we're talking about bugs, we're just talking about code that doesn't work correctly, right?
Right. Yeah.
So when there's things that aren't working correctly, there are these things called errors, basically, that you can track. And sometimes they're clear, and sometimes they're not, and they can definitely be frustrating. But once you learn it, you come out a better programmer, and once you see it over and over again, that's when you become a really great programmer.
Mm,
It's just like playing basketball, right? You're not gonna be able to shoot 10 free throws in a row
right.
and
I
make it,
work to it. Yeah.
right? Yeah, you got to work towards it.
Right. So
Exactly.
you think the Malcolm Gladwell, the 10,000 hours rule kind of applies here.
Yeah, and it's basically unlimited too because technology is always advancing. You always have to be learning, right? There's new tools coming out every day.
Yeah. Yeah. JavaScript is pretty old, right? It's been around for a while.
Yeah, that's been around for a decent amount of time. I don't know the exact date, but even JavaScript is constantly being updated, and there's different versions and different
Mm.
compatibility that you have to be aware of, and you have to learn all that stuff. So it's definitely interesting. And then there are these tools that are introduced that are basically now all kind of competing for different audiences. You have Facebook's open source project called React. You probably heard it said if you um, if you've been in the web development community for a while. Then
Mm.
you have like another one called Vue.js, which is another um, perspective on the situation. And then you have Google's language Angular. And so those three are really kind of competing with each other
Mm.
as far as like full frameworks. And that's usually the next step after you learn the core.
Right. Right.
It's a lot to learn. And then
Yeah.
you got security, and then you got back end programming. It goes on. And then someone will be like, but there's a better way to do it. And then you got to learn that. Or your client, or you get a new job and they're saying, this is how we build it, right? You might have learned React, but your new job is requiring you to learn Vue.
Right.
So
Right. But
it's never ending.
right. It's never ending, and it's still in the process of constantly evolving, which is
Right.
something. It's an
Yeah.
enticing reason for people to learn because it doesn't feel like it's not like you're getting into accounting, which is like
Right. Yeah.
people are doing it pretty similar. Like it's not that the variability isn't that different,
Yeah.
but it's older, so it can
Mhm.
feel like there's just an endless amount of back end to learn.
Yeah.
Knowing that there's just more to learn in the future, is not as adversarial, maybe.
It can be a little overwhelming too. I mean, when
Like, of
you think
course,
about endless knowledge, you're like, holy
right,
moly, I'm never gonna reach the top of this mountain. The truth
right,
is, you're probably not.
sure.
You're gonna reach a couple peaks, and then you're gonna look up, and you're gonna be like, what? There's more mountain.
Yeah, yeah. You're climbing the hill in your backyard, and then you look up. It's like, oh, Everest.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you started this, this conversation talking about you feeling a little stressed, feeling the pinch. So it
Yeah.
could be all that
Exactly.
knowledge, right? Yeah,
It is. It's exactly that.
yeah.
I've been coding for, if you include years, that's 4 years, and then I've been working for this company 2 years after college, and then including my internship, that would be like 7 years of like programming, and that's not even long. And I just feel right now I'm beginning to like understand things like
Right, right. I
the
remember you telling
holistic
me
view. Yeah, and so if it's taken me that long, I can't imagine how long it's going to take the next step, right?
the next step. Sure. It's all an adventure, of course.
Yeah.
So how has programming changed during COVID-19, either, for you and maybe also for the larger industry? And of course, it's in many industries, but
I mean, I'm not sure if it's changed per se. I think people are still coding all the time. I think the industry is pretty incredible. There's a really big community online. They're very supportive. There's this idea of open source,
right,
which is basically what it sounds like. It's this code that anyone can read, anyone can learn, and then there's another concept called learning in public or teaching in public. Is where you take that knowledge that you learned and you write a blog or you write a video and you give it back to the community, right? Because the only way we're all really learning is by teaching each other. And so I think I don't think that's changed during this time. And if anything, it's increased. More and more people every day are trying to create content
hmm,
in an unselfish and selfish way, because a lot of these um, these content creators or open source creators are real. They're making a killing. Like they're making a lot of money doing this. They're selling tutorials for $40 a
right,
pop. And you get a bunch of people to buy it, and you create an audience on Twitter, and it's
yeah,
all very enticing, but it's difficult. It's not easy, right?
yeah,
I mean, I wrote this guy like wrote a comment. He was like, it took me to my 3000th video to even start charging anyone, right? I mean, you could do it before,
Right.
certainly,
Right.
but it's gonna take some time. But yeah, I don't know if it's changed. Um, I wonder. I mean, I think if anything, more people are starting to work from home, and a lot of these companies are starting to realize that there's no reason to have an office.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Mm. Yeah. So how has the work from home life been for you? Are you considering a future digital nomad, travel the globe?
Yeah,
Work?
I'm all for that. That's my goal right now, is to work
Really?
from home full time. I enjoy it, especially when it's well balanced with my hobbies and social life. I mean, that's a little hard right now.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a big component on going out and hiking and getting outside. I think work from home can be really great, but it also, like if you're constantly sitting by your laptop, it's easy to grab for it and start working, right?
Yeah.
And there's always this feeling in the back of my head that I should be creating something,
Mm.
and not necessarily that might not necessarily be productive on its own,
Mm.
right? If I'm constantly in my head trying to do the next thing, I should probably take some time to just decompress and be patient.
Right. Right. That was something we talked about again at the beginning is
Yeah,
people have been working kind of more hours because there isn't really a distinction between work and home if you're working from home.
yeah, yeah.
Drawing those
And
lines.
with I think with the lack of social life too, that's like a complete bummer, right? I mean, you
Right.
used to be able to close your laptop and be like, "Yo, let's go get drinks," or even just come over, let's hang out.
Yeah.
People are a lot more hesitant to do that now, and rightfully so, right? We all have to be careful. Um, so I think that's really hard, and on top of like just the daily stresses of what's going on today, I think it's a stressful environment, and
Totally.
across the globe.
But it'd be nice to be able to go into the office and see some coworkers and
Yeah, yeah, it could
that-
be. Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, there are great benefits to being the nomad and getting out of Dodge, so to speak, going to live in the woods, in a cabin for a week
yeah,
and popping by a regional city for a couple months and then, doing a little Thoreau out by Walden Pond. But yes, you do need the internet connection. But yeah, no, then there is the increased, like, I've definitely noticed that just being in sort of quasi isolation the past 3 months at this point, like, which is crazy. It's June 16th. Yeah. It's just like I definitely I miss the social aspect of my life and working from home permanently going forward and potentially like I feel like that would only increase the social isolation, even if you can, of course, post corona be able to go out and have drinks or
yeah,
have people come over. Like still, I don't know. There is something to having yeah, your coworkers around you for a you know, quick conversation about something, both work and non-work related. So there's some big trade-offs there that need to be thought through.
totally agree.
But I could definitely see you out in Portland or Seattle,
Yeah,
working from home from
I
a
gotta
coffee
wherever the
shop.
mountains are. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, Pacific Northwest. Yeah, man, I'm all in for the mountains, baby. I'll be spending a good chunk of time there coming up. So definitely pro mountain. But
Pro
so
mountain.
pro mountain. So the work from home, of course, the work that the place that you're working for, the Toll Brothers, who are a home building company. I'm wondering how was their business affected? I mean, you're doing web development for them. You're not in the construction side, but were their construction projects halted? Was everything halted, or were some things able to be deemed essential?
Yeah, I think it was depending on the project.
Hmm.
To be honest, I'm not in the loop that much. We're doing well though, certainly. Um, I just don't know what's happening on the forefront of the construction zones, especially with PA. But I did just read that I think it was lifted completely, that construction can resume. So I'm assuming we're full fledged right back at it. I think the difficult part of any face-to-face interaction with customers is just making them feel comfortable doing that. I think there's starting to be, I think as more and more people realize that, you know, the best way to feel comfortable is to wear masks and communicate that early and make sure, you know, the place feels safe, that I think that's the best way forward for everyone.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So you don't really know if home building has gone up or down necessarily. Looking for some of that insider trading.
I'll plead the fifth. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think everything's actually basically pretty normal. I mean, actually, we've really seen there's this. I think that a lot of people in cities don't want to live there anymore, especially with the rise of the COVID. So maybe more and more people kind of want to come out to the suburbs where toll bars are building. And so that actually could be helping a lot.
Yeah, I think your AirPods just died also.
They totally did.
Yeah. Just to recognize the fact that the audio is still fine, but it did change a little bit. Yeah. Well, you know, thank you for what you were able to tell me about it.
Yeah.
I'm curious about it. It seems like, you know, obviously COVID-19 affected industries differently, but now, you know, I don't know. I don't really hear COVID being talked about as much, but it's definitely very much still a reality, which is part of the reason I've kept COVID chats going, because it could be easy to just drop it when nobody seems to quote unquote care about it anymore. But I mean, we are, you know, I think today we passed 9 million worldwide, like infected, and, you know, 500,000 dead worldwide. So, I mean, there's no vaccine yet. People are starting to be a little reckless, and I think it's important to still chat about it, keep it in people's minds.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Yeah.
I think you're right. I think what we need to do is think about who are the people who are vulnerable and who are the people who are not. I mean, if we look at the data, for the most part, young people are like basically good to go. Like when they get hit, like basically they bounce right back. I mean, you could compare it to the flu, like almost nothing. I'm sure the numbers actually pretty much align to anyone who's probably like 25 younger, or even 25 to like 35.
Yeah. I don't know exactly the data on that.
Yeah, I certainly don't know the data offhand either. But
hip here.
Yeah, shooting from the hip. But that seems to be the consensus, I think, for most people. I think we're both big fans of Joe Rogan. Definitely need to focus on like building our immune systems. Like it's real that this has not been talked about. Like, are people exercising? Are people boosting their cardiovascular? You know, are they working out? You know, like, are you taking vitamin D? Like Joe talked about that. That was like a huge deal, right?
That vitamin D deficiency.
Yeah. So look into that. Make sure that you're healthy. I think that would be my first advice to anyone who's worried about COVID right now. Like, are you taking the next precautions? My biggest worry is honestly elderly people who might not have the energy to
exercise,
work out, or people who are sick already, right? Those people, it's really tough for them.
Yeah, I don't see many senior citizens dropping to the floor and doing 10 push-ups, you know.
Right, exactly. So like that stinks. And I'm concerned for my own grandmother, and I'm sure everyone else is.
Yeah.
But I think we got to balance the economic side of it too, right? I mean, that's the other side of the equation.
Yeah. No, I'm pro opening things up. I just, you know, I definitely don't want the damage to the economy to be worse than it needs to be or already has been. But definitely I want people to still be thoughtful about it, because I don't know. I mean, I see both sides of it. You know, I've been trying to see friends too and get the mental health back in check, and, you know, make sure I'm seeing friends and staying social, but then also taking care of the physical health and making sure I don't. It's such a balance, because the two are inextricably tied somewhat, the physical and the mental health, but they both pose different there's different risks here with this thing. And I don't know, just thinking about it and having it consciously in your mind in a way that isn't stressing you out, but you're still, as you said, like with the Toll Brothers, making sure people feel safe and they're thinking about it. That's kind of, I think that's the way to go about it. Did I cut out for a second?
A little bit. Can you hear my mom talking to the?
No.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna keep this in the final cut too. I kind of like that though. I like having a little bit of the raw, unedited stuff. Like,
Yeah, no, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
My brother just had a kid, as you know. The audience does not know. Jake, obviously, you know.
Yeah.
And so they're being precautious, right? They're worried about their
Sure.
baby. So I haven't been able to see my nephew, right? That's tough.
Right. Yeah, that sucks.
Parents haven't been able to. So that you can hear my mom talking baby to her
Talking baby.
right now, just saying absolute nonsense. I don't know why we do that with babies.
Babble talk.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there's actually been some science to say that it's better to use real words, not do baby talk, and have them, hear what the actual language sounds like and start to develop those sounds instead of developing all this baby babble. Like, they'll be babbling on their own. Don't worry about it. They don't need any help with the babble.
I wonder if you taught a kid like 5 different languages, like you were just like had Rosetta Stone on, like on repeat. Would they just be so confused, or would they pick up on it like really fast?
Well, there's still the dominant language that you would be speaking to them,
right.
Right? Unless you actively also know those languages and are switching it from Russian to Spanish to English to French.
Just have your baby at like 3 speaking like 6 different languages.
They'll be really smart. There's a lot of science to say that it opens up different pathways in the brain that aren't accessible to people who aren't bilingual or trilingual.
It is interesting. I try to like. Right. I mean, I've been taught. How many languages have I learned? I've learned Hebrew, Spanish. I mean, I'm talking like languages, as in like not computer languages.
Right, and not English.
Yeah, not English. I guess there wasn't another language that I learned, but it's amazing that I was taught Spanish for like over 8 years, and I can't speak it at all. Yeah. So what was I doing in class? Certainly not paying attention.
Not paying attention. And then there's also like, you could then go over to like Argentina and like be there for like a couple months, and you'd be almost like not fluent, but like you'd have very good conversational dialogue.
Yeah.
Like being immersed in the culture and having it at home as well, as opposed to just, an hour for Spanish class on Mondays and Wednesdays. Like, that will make an impact, but the real dent will be the at-home learning and like, were you putting in hours on Spanish vocabulary, queso, huevos, frijoles. I know mostly food terms from working in kitchens. So, you also, experienced photographer. You've definitely taken some nice snaps of me here or there. Did you photograph much during the past few months of quarantine, masks, and then all the protests?
No, I haven't gotten out to do any of that. I'm not a huge documenter. I'm more of a creator.
Isn't documenting creating to some degree?
It certainly is. It's like a category of creation, I guess. I just don't do it. I just like going hiking and taking pictures of that if I go out, right? I like taking portraits. I could do that, certainly a lot more of that during these protests. It would be a good thing to go out and do. Yeah, that's good.
So you've taken a lot less pictures.
A ton less. I mean, I can't really work with people, right? I usually do graduation photos. I did 0 this year. So.
Do you miss, I'm sure you miss the business aspect of it, but do you miss the art of the camera? Do you miss taking pictures?
Yeah, always. Yeah, always miss doing it. I need to do it more. In fact, I think even before all this, it kind of dropped off. Coding has kind of like taken over my brain in so many different ways. Which is a good and bad thing. Pros and cons.
Yeah, your tone would tell me it's a bad thing.
Well, it's a bad thing right now because I think I'm stressed. But
Right.
when something good happens, I'm always super excited about the
That's good.
next thing.
You don't want to take any pictures of your parents or any objects around the house, maybe a stuffed animal, get an action shot of a bear. No?
Good advice. I'll think about it.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. It'd be fun for you. It's also, it's a break from the screen. I mean, you do digital, right? So it's a screen,
That's the other thing. I never get a break from screens unless I
right?
go hiking, really.
Yeah. Maybe pick up a manual camera, a little Leica.
Ooh, get some film.
Yeah, get some cool film, man.
Yeah, it's pretty
I mean, it's
expensive.
a whole different thing, but
Oh yeah, I don't even know how to do it.
right.
Something to learn.
Yeah, yeah. It's a little harder than the click and shoot on the digital. Not to knock digital. The digitals, of course, can get more complicated than that. But
What about you and the comedy, man?
yeah, I was kind of off of it for a bit, but then during quarantine, I picked it back up because the Rutgers Comedy Club was actually doing like weekly meetings. So I was writing a little bit, and we were doing like some Zoom comedy. So it was fun.
That's fun.
But it's not. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not for me.
Mark Norman went to Texas. You know, everything's open there.
I saw, yeah,
I think
yeah.
I think that's a funny thing to do. I think that's what these comedians are doing now. Is they're just gonna start traveling to anywhere that's open because they wanna.
A lot of them are, yeah.
Yeah, they wanna just get their thoughts out and work
Yeah,
on
they
the
want to get their
material.
kicks. I want them to too. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's how they express themselves. I just want them to be safe.
Yeah.
I'll show you this map quickly, do a little screen share, something I've never done in the COVID chats. But this is a great interactive
You're the
website.
tab all open kind of guy.
What?
When's the last? Is this just from today? The tabs?
Oh no, these tabs build up as a bit. But let's focus on the map here, Cowboy.
Can't, man. There's too many tabs.
Yeah, well, I was doing some research. All right, you're making me self-conscious. We're done.
No, go back to the map, bro.
No, maybe you should have paid attention to the map, huh?
Was that like places that are open or in the green faces or yellow? Whatever.
It was well, if you read the key at the top of the map.
Bring it back, buddy.
It's
Shop.
about
To your shop.
Stop bullying me. It was COVID risk, so all the places in yellow are controlled disease growth. Whereas
we should just move to New Zealand.
I'll just show it to you quickly again.
There we go.
So Texas is controlled right now, but there's obviously a lot of at-risk portions in the south that could easily spread, and there's also at-risk out west.
Hey, why is New York on the way to containing?
Because we've done such a good job with this lockdown and quarantine. I mean, for all of March, all of April, not all of March, but certainly all of April, half of March, and all of May, like people really, really stayed home. Like now I'm starting to see some non-compliance, but for the most part, New York really did an excellent job.
I guess it really is just New York City too. I mean, once you get out of the city, it's basically.
Right. I mean, there's definitely some stuff in some other counties. It kind of actually started. There was some hot pockets up in like Rockland County when it first started, but
the whole tracking is interesting to me.
Yeah. What's the
how would you feel about like having peer-to-peer like blockchain tracking? Not government, no data being shared, just symptoms. And it's all based off of ID. So like you don't know who is who, right? So
yeah,
if you were in a small town or big city, right? Everyone gets an ID. It's an anonymous ID. If you have symptoms or something goes wrong, that's reported to the registry of the app, and it all comes back together and tells you that this ID was near this person's ID, and be careful. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's a slippery slope. There's a lot of concern about putting into place measures that are, made for emergency times, but then stay on after the emergency. So I guess I'd be concerned about that. Just making sure that there was an end to, like, it wasn't just now permanent tracking and then they started
right.
saying that.
I mean, yeah, I agree. It definitely, it would be open source, right? So it'd be the same idea, right? So there wouldn't be a government official tracking this. This would be completely monitored by a community of people.
Yeah, then it's more kosher in my
Yeah.
mind, you know.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I don't necessarily think it's needed, because I think people are being responsible, even if they are hanging out with friends of
Mm,
10 or less, or however they feel is comfortable, or if they're hanging out with the same 10 people and no one's really breaking that, I don't see a problem with it.
mm.
I think that's hard to keep, but we'll see.
Yeah, what's the web development side of this sort of COVID-19 aspect? Like, have people were you ever asked to put COVID-19 data on the Toll Brothers site, or
um I mean, we certainly, had messaging, right? We care about our customers. We want to make sure that they're safe.
right?
I think the web development community itself, though, it's on the liberal side, like, actually completely, right? I mean, you actually could get in a little bit of trouble if you don't side with them, right? I mean, people could
So,
cancel you, could shame you, it could get pretty ugly pretty fast, actually. I think that's something interesting about them, right? Or even the idea of anyone being so one-sided, right? You're supposed to be open, especially the left side is supposed to be open, right, to ideas.
yeah.
But if someone disagrees with you, you're not open to it.
Mm,
It doesn't really make any sense to me.
yeah, a little
Uh,
contradictory there.
yeah, it's definitely a paradox almost.
So the web development community, you're saying, is very on the left, very liberal, very
Oh,
progressive.
yeah, very progressive. I mean, tech in general is. Um,
So yeah, so was there concern then in terms of getting into the politics of COVID? Is that why maybe some people didn't want to, they didn't want to put stuff on their websites about that, or how does that factor in? I'm just interested.
Oh, well, I think everyone immediately, if it affected their business, straight away went
Right.
and said, like, we're here to keep you guys safe, right?
Mm,
We're taking the precautions that we need. Uh, right away, we created a virtual campaign. Like, we tried to get people excited about taking virtual tours of our homes, and that has worked out really well for us, actually. So
mm,
I think things are going. If people are interested, you can go virtual. I still believe that there's always going to be a benefit of face-to-face interaction, really getting to know someone, physically going into a home, right? I mean, but I think we responded pretty well, and I think a lot of the industry has responded pretty well.
mm.
Uh, we'll see how these politicians handle it. Not so well, actually.
Yeah, just put it on the government. It's their fault.
Well, you know what? It isn't even the government. I understand reacting poorly, but I don't understand not owning up to reacting poorly.
Yeah.
Or just not just being a good leader in general, right? I mean, it's incredible how we've created a system where good leadership is not favored.
Yep.
People who owning up to their mistakes not favored. People actually listening to someone else's opinion and not their party's not favored. Doesn't make any sense to me.
It's a shame. I wish we could have better values reflected in our politics. It is often
How
very
long has this conversation been happening though? Like, is it happening more now, or did it happen 50 years ago? Because I'm wondering, is America headed towards a multi-party system, like more than two party
Hmm.
system? Is that what we're headed towards? I mean, when our generation and younger, right, are up next, like I've never met anyone with a mean bone. I mean, it might be just from where I grew up. Anyone my age, right? I've barely ever met anyone, if anyone, with a mean bone in their body that doesn't listen to someone. I don't know if that's gonna. I have a feeling things are gonna change because of how we were brought up and our values.
Could
Um,
it
I
could
could I could definitely see the two-party system, especially if someone independent runs and wins at some point in the next 50 years. I think that'll make a big difference.
it could It could. I mean, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, change is notoriously slow, and then despite the fact that you haven't met anyone with a mean bone in their body, believe me, you will. But then
Have
it,
you?
it,
Have you
uh,
met anyone who's mean?
yeah, I've met a couple mean people.
Where? College or something? That just were so ignorant?
I think just sort of across my life, but even more so. I mean, it's not like it's been a tremendous amount of people, but I think that also depends on your perspective. But even more
Right.
so, like think about the culture online. Like, despite you not having met a mean
But I
person,
don't think
you see people
online
be mean.
reflects real life.
Not at all.
Almost not at all.
Mm,
I think these people are just angry and looking for in a way to. I mean, every day I get so close to posting something about how stressed I am,
mm,
right? But I don't do it, right? Because I don't think anyone's gonna really get anything out of it, or myself, right?
mm.
It's the same with these people. They're expressing themselves and they're quick to type their fingers.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think anyone would speak to each other that way, or
Mm.
hope they wouldn't. But
There should
you
be an
still,
option. There should be an option on Twitter for the saying, or it's not, maybe it's not a saying. It's like an aphorism. Like, you should like write a letter to that person and not send it. Like, there should be
right?
an option on Twitter
Yeah.
for you to write it all out and then hit send, and it doesn't actually send.
It actually might feel really good. You're right.
Yeah, just a stay right there kind of.
Yeah, they have thought about that. Jack Dorsey talks about the idea that why there isn't an edit button, and it actually is. It's a pretty technical reason, right? Because uh, it's like it's two layered, right? Technically, it'd be difficult to delay the tweet. Let's say for the first 30 seconds, you could edit your tweet, right? That means we're kind of like delaying it before it actually goes out and onto the timeline.
Right.
And then the second one would be like, let's say I write about, you know, uh, some subject and someone else retweets it and agrees with it, and then I decide to edit my tweet,
Right.
and they're basically agreeing with something that I changed.
Right.
So it's two difficult things about that.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't be a fan of editing for all the issues of it, but maybe just like a don't
Fake
send,
send.
a don't
Fake
send,
send.
fake send.
Fake
Something where you
send.
still have the satisfaction of it, like you write it and it's going out, but it's not actually getting to anybody. Like, it just goes to you, maybe it dings you.
I think people aren't talking enough.
Yeah.
People
But
are not talking enough.
is that
They're,
in real life or online?
I think, in real life and online. I mean, it's hard to have a conversation on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
But
Not even, I'm barely on it. I mean,
it's probably best for you, man. I think
yeah.
my mental health has gone down since I've been on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are important conversations happening on it, and then there's also echo chambers where it's just beating you down.
Right. And there's also something to be said for not being on it, but you can still always just drop in, like, check out what's going on, right?
That's true too.
Like, you need an account to some degree, but you can also,
You can go anonymous.
yeah, you
Great.
can go anonymous, right? I believe you can. I mean,
Well, you could just create a fake username.
right, or you're right, yeah, just create a fake account that you don't never actually, use. And
Dr. Anonymous.
oh, sounds
There
like
you
a
go.
superhero. So, rounding out the conversation, what are a few things you can't wait to do again?
I look forward to the time where people are not hesitant to hang out, aren't hesitant to open a door, aren't hesitant to come over and give you a hug or anything like that. It really is sad to think that people are just so scared to do human things, right? I mean, people are so scared to touch surfaces, to all that kind of stuff. I really look forward to things getting back to that, and I look forward to. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna. Hopefully, won't see it right away, but I look forward to things changing in our country.
Yeah.
I certainly think that's going to happen. I think we've started to take the right steps. I look forward to the day where we actually have good news coverage that is truthful and meaningful. People aren't. I mean, it's super hard not to be biased, but like at least trying not to be biased. Right? There isn't any effort in these news. I mean, shout out Morning Brew, but maybe the only non-biased newsletter.
They're a little business biased, honestly. How about some non-business content? Did I cut out?
Well, they have. Let's go. He did. I think Alex just said they're trying to do marketing, but it is. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, that's the brand. I'm just ragging on them.
I know. I mean, they are friends. We're allowed to do that, right? They understand that.
Yeah, they do.
I look forward to everyone actually caring about each other's intentions and not their words. Right? People take words for their meaning, but not intentions.
Right. Judge me by my intentions.
Yeah, right. Like if I send you a text and I'm like, hey man, can you get this done for me? Like, can we do this video call? And I'm like, and I take it like aggressively, right? It could be completely different, but I know me and you are just close friends, so we know that it wouldn't never be like that. But other people online are always constantly looking. Yeah, I look forward to all that. Maybe I'm looking forward to utopia.
Might be a little bit. We're kind of living in a dystopia right now. So.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of this, I was really just looking forward to I was thinking about live concerts, and how much I miss
those so much.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, summer tour. I was looking to hit a bunch of shows this summer, so that's a bummer. Definitely what you said, just that overall hesitancy that people have to be close, to be intimate, to be in public, and to not be that close, but just around other people, that sense of normalcy. What else do I miss? Yeah, I mean, I miss, of course, just all the parts of going out and living a life in New York City, having stores open and, some clubs and movie theaters and bowling alleys. I mean, whatever, just,
will anyone touch someone else's bowling ball ever again?
Yeah, dude, just sticking your fingers into some deep mystery right there.
I think about all the things we used to touch and not think about.
Yeah.
Everyone's just thinking about it. Ugh.
All the time.
Such a bummer.
Yeah.
Such a bummer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's maybe part of your part of the stress also, right? I mean, it's not just programming, we're living in stressful times.
Yeah. I think that's definitely plays a part in it.
I'd recommend taking a little Twitter break if I were you. I'm off Facebook, so it's been great.
I've been thinking about deleting it, honestly. I don't think it's helping. I think I'm just hurting myself.
Or just deactivate. Take 2 weeks, something like that.
Deactivate or lock it or something.
Yeah, lock it. Yeah. However you need it, so the willpower won't flip it,
What's so weird is that, and I'm sure you do it too, it's like this weird thing where I grab the phone, open an app, I'm not thinking.
Right.
It's like my thumb is doing it. It'd be like, I don't know. Yeah, it's terrible. It's really, really bad.
I've gotten better at that by not having as many distracting apps. I don't have games on my phone, and my phone's always on silent, so I'm never getting the ding, I'm never getting the notification.
No dings for Ruben.
No dings. I'm off most social media. I mean, I have an account on Instagram, but I'm not really using it, and I have a Twitter for this, but I'm not really using it. We don't need we were talking about this a little bit earlier, sort of tangentially, but it's sort of attention economy that we're in, where everybody's, all these open source people are they're putting their stuff out, they're all trying to get people's eyeballs and eyeballs and eyeballs, and self-promotion is good, but it's definitely, I think we've jumped the shark on it, and it's gone a little too far. And just put it out for you first and foremost, not for everybody else. Be a little more selfish, and you might start to bring some things in, instead of just casting everything out.
Yeah. It's funny though. I feel like we say that now, but it's because we're not making any money doing it.
That's true too.
These people are making so much money. It's unreal.
Right. But they also, I mean,
They've been at it for a while.
They've been at it for a while, right?
I mean, there are only a few exceptions of people who go viral and create an audience.
Right.
On a short term.
Yeah, absolutely. But in the meantime, not everybody needs to be on, post every clip on TikTok, on Snapchat, on LinkedIn,
That's the last one I'll ever be on TikTok.
TikTok, yeah.
That'll ruin you. That'll corrupt your mind right there.
I watched a couple of them just to see what people were up to. I was like,
there's not even a valuable thing you're getting out of that. It's
they're living in another world.
Basically to Instagram, like Twitter, depends on what you follow. You could get a lot of value, especially if people are sharing things that are like resources, right?
Sure.
Instagram, you could get that. It's mostly visual, mostly bragging, mostly sharing, right? Yeah. TikTok is just poison.
Just you wait for it to slowly change,
What do you think it'll change to?
Well, I mean, people will use the platform for other means. Like, think about when Twitter first started, like what Twitter was used for. Like, I had Twitter in middle school. I was just like, I was tweeting to my friends who were literally like two
you were just over. Like, whoa, things are on the internet. Yeah, I did the same thing.
It was like texting.
We didn't even know it.
So we'll see. I was originally more hesitant on TikTok and didn't think it had that much promise, but we'll see.
Entertainment value, tons.
Yeah, but even more practical promise too. We'll see. We'll see.
I mean, I think it'll be there. There's going to be someone who's creative enough to do it, right?
Yeah, and people's attention spans are shorter and shorter, so the platform excels there.
Yeah, true. All right, maybe I'm just shooting it down.
It's okay. I shot it down.
Convinced me. I'm gonna go download it and corrupt my mind.
Yeah. Maybe not if you're feeling stressed, but anyway, Ethan, really a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for coming on the program.
Always, Ruben.
Always.
I'm gonna be your first welcome back guest. I have a feeling.
Oh, okay. I like that. I like that. Confident.